shipping. The practice of taking two characters and making stories or art of them in a relationship. It's been a part of fandom culture ever since fandom culture even existed. Certain fandoms even have active shipping cultures and ship wars. The My Little Pony fandom is a big example of this, with popular ships like Apple Dash, Twi-Pie, Rarajack, Soren Dash, and Fluttercord. That last one is what we're going to be looking at today. Fluttercord is a ship between Fluttershy and the reformed villain Discord. The pairing was first conceived by fans after the episode Keep Calm and Flutter On, where Fluttershy has to try and turn Discord to the good side. She succeeds and the two become friends, but some people thought that they could be more than just that. Ooh. Fluttercord would soon become one of the most popular ships in the MLP fandom, the second best according to Screen Rant. There are many Fluttercord fanfictions out there. One of, if not the most popular of these, is Bride of Discord, written by Disney Fanatic 2364. Though on their fanfiction.net account we can't see how many people have read it exactly, it does have over 1,800 reviews and 1,963 favorites. Numbers aside, it was apparently really big back in the day, thanks in part to an audio version of the fanfic being published on YouTube. And when I say audio version, this isn't a mere reading of it, though. This is a full-on audio drama with voice acting, sound effects, and even musical numbers. Each of its 10 episodes has over 1 million views as of today. It might not be Sonic vs. Rainbow Dash numbers, but it is enough for people to suggest that I cover it in a video. I don't have any experience with Bride of Discord because, keep in mind, I wasn't a My Little Pony fan back when it came out. I was a brony. I didn't have time for all this lovey-dovey BS. I was watching Button's Adventures and listening to the Brony song by Random Encounters. Just remember that when I talk about this, I don't have any nostalgic attachment to it like a lot of the people watching will. My only exposure to Bride of Discord so far was a few TikTok videos by Crooked Beetles. The way they talk about it, I thought listening to it was going to be the most painful experience of my life, and after finishing the whole thing, I gotta say, it's not the worst, but it has not aged well. So there are parts of it that are a little messed up, and we're definitely gonna talk about that. The story could use some work, it's also very amateurish, the voices are off sometimes, annoying even, but a lot of these are flaws that show with time in my opinion. It was obviously a labor of love by its creator, and I need to mention that. So what happens in Bride of Discord? Imagine Beauty and the Beast, but with the MLP cast. It's a combination of that, but mixed with this one fairy tale called Bride of the Lindorm King, and an episode of the show Once Upon a Time. There are also 2 other MLP Beauty and the Beast-ish fanfics that inspired it. And of course, the original Keep Calm and Flutter On episode, which spawned the ship. So a whole mixed bag of inspiration, but really, they're all just versions of the same story. As I mentioned, the fanfiction was adapted into an audio drama, which was split up into 10 parts, whereas the original fanfiction has 18 parts. The whole thing comes out to over 5 hours, which sounds like a lot, but if I can watch a 5-hour episode-by-episode analysis of iCarly, then I can manage this. Speaking of episode-by-episode analysis, that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So get comfy, grab a snack, put this video on in the background, it doesn't matter, because this is Bride of Discord. 2 things before we go into this. 1, I didn't make this video with the intent of canceling or exposing anybody here. That's not what I want people to take away from this. Please don't harass anybody involved with Bride of Discord or anything related to it. We're gonna talk about that some more. So either stick around or I'll leave a timestamp so you can go watch that part on its own. And 2, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Shadow Legends has taken over, and gaming will never be the same again. Raid is the first game to bring a true console-level experience to your phone. They've set the bar high and there's no going back. Explore millions of champion combinations and master countless tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, campaign battles, and PvP arena matches. With hundreds of artifacts to equip and over 600 champions, plus with unique skills, you can build your team, develop your champions, and raid your way. I've been playing Raid for a while now, and these are some of the champions I've been using. Coronar. This legendary tank is super useful for weakening your enemy's stats. With his abilities, he can lower enemies' turn meter, lessen their attack and defense, and even control them by provoking them, on top of giving them block debuffs. If you're looking for a more versatile champion, then check out Venus. Her default skill places poison, her second skill decreases defense and weakens enemies, and her final skill is a mass HP burn. She's super useful for some of the game's tougher bosses, and is also, kind of a baddie TBH. And not to mention, there's a ton happening in Raid this month. with some new champions, an update to Tag Arena, and a full schedule of special events and tournaments. But here's the main event. Raid's currently running a special Deliana Chase event, where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction, just by logging in. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you'll get Deliana for free. That's it! Deliana is one of the strongest support champions in the entire game, and can help carry your team get past many of Raid's tougher challenges. You don't want to miss her. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click on my link in the description, or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get a free starter pack worth almost $40. We're talking 3 free champions at once. Misericord, Tiger Soul, Romeo, plus 10 Magic XP brews, 10 Force XP brews, and 10 Spirit brews. That's huge! They only gave you 1 champion in the past. Don't miss on your last chance to get such big rewards. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. And it's that easy. Just click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the game. And you know what? The gifts keep coming! All new players, listen up. Once you're in game, just enter promo code MyDeliana to get your hands on everything. Simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero Deliana to max level 50, as well as a ton of silver. Thanks again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The first episode of Bride of Discord was uploaded to YouTube on September 27th, only 6 months after the first chapter of the fanfic. The audio drama was produced by the author, Disney Fanatic 2364, who for the rest of this video I'm gonna try and call Disney Fanatic or just DF. Since it's the same creative vision behind both the story and the audio drama, the audio version is able to cut out all the narration and just leaves the dialogue, with additional music and sound effects. There's also art shown on screen that helps communicate what's going on here visually. All these are made exclusively for this audio drama and by different artists. But episode 1 doesn't start with any fan art, just a screenshot from the show and a narration by Twilight Sparkle about how Discord was defeated by the 2 Royal Pony sisters, came back, and then got beat again by the main 6. Basically a recap of the season 2 premiere of MLP. We even get another screenshot from the episode where all the ponies finally defeat Discord. If you remember, in the actual episode he gets turned to stone. But in this he just disappears, leading the main 6 to worry if he's still around. In this very familiar looking shot, Twilight talks to Princess Celestia, who tells her that Discord fled and that they should wait until he comes back to do anything about him. 3 years pass and every pony's pretty much forgotten about Discord. With this time skip, they actually managed to predict a lot of the things that would happen in the later seasons of the show, like Shining Armor and Princess Cadence having a baby, Rainbow Dash getting into the Wonderbolt's flying team, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders finally getting their cutie marks. Those last 2 are things that seemed obvious given how they're both pretty big plot points in the show though. The only one I'd call a prediction is the baby thing. The voice acting in this is competent. Applejack's accent is all over the place and sometimes slips into like an Australian accent. Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash sound like they're really pushing their voices but not getting there, and it just sounds a little embarrassing. Pinkie Pie sounds really young for this, and sort of mumbles her lines despite being really high energy. It's hard to explain, you just have to watch it.
This calls for a party! I'm so nervous-sighted! I can't wait to see Twilight again! Feels like forever since we've seen her!
Twilight actually sounds pretty spot on though, and I don't want to say that Twilight is an easy voice to do and downplay her voice actor's performance in this, but it does feel that way, since all the other main 6 ponies have some sort of accent or some quirk to their voice that's usually out of the range of normal low-medium female register with non-specific North American accent. Fluttershy is really good too. I just wish the audio mixing in this episode was better so I could hear her. There's a scene where she and AJ talk in the Canterlot Garden and I have no idea what either of them are saying. The mic quality fluctuates too from person to person. Some people sound relatively good, but others either don't have the equipment or a good recording space. Rarity is an American trying a British accent, and Celestia is a British person trying an American accent. Celestia does an okay job, but there's way too much breath in her voice.
The second time, there was something good inside her. The creature has a heart. Take your friendship apart.
What I find neat is how the voice cast for this sort of echoes the voice cast for the actual MLP show, in that Celestia and Cheerilee have the same voice actress. So do Applejack and Rainbow Dash. In this, it's the same with It's Anna Clone voicing Celestia and Shirley, and DF, the author herself, voicing RD and AJ. And I need to talk about Spike. Out of all the characters, his voice is the most off. Like, I can tell what parts of the original voice he's trying to mimic, but to me, it just sounds like this guy's pinching his nose and hoping for the best.
So I was wondering if you could help me out, you know.
I say this, but the voice actors are definitely trying, and although a few of them aren't the best, I don't have any trouble making out what they're saying, or the emotions that they're trying to convey. Let's get it out of the way, this was a long time ago, and they're doing a good job.
Hey, say it, don't spray it!
Back to the story. The princesses go off to investigate some mysterious goings-on outside of Equestria, and they leave Twilight in charge. With this new responsibility on her shoulders, Twilight becomes neurotic, which is something that never happened in the show. Turns out these mysterious goings-on that the princesses are investigating, yeah, those are Discord. He barely does anything in this first episode, except plot his evil revenge scheme and talk to his reflection, but the series is named after him, so I gotta give him a mention. Here he sounds pretty close to Discord's actual voice, but as we go on, it gets a little iffy. Fluttershy has apparently been dreaming about him abducting her, as she tells Applejack. This isn't really the work of Discord, I don't think, but it'll be a recurring theme in the story. I just think it's a very interesting coincidence that she happens to be the only pony dreaming about this guy that we know of, who she just so happens to get involved in later in the story. But Fluttershy's got it good otherwise. She's set to perform a song at this year's Grand Galloping Gala, and reportedly has a ton of male suitors lining up for her hand. Yeah, I did tell you this was a Beauty and the Beast story, and they had to incorporate that element of the Disney version, I guess. Though they really should have shown and not told, and it's not even that relevant to the actual story they're telling here. Like, there's no Gaston character who plays any part in the story. Grr. All these minor story flaws in this nearly 10-year-old My Little Pony fanfiction are driving me crazy. Where's my unfunny, comically large bottle of alcohol when you need it? Was this all we had in the budget? So Fluttershy is our Belle and Discord is our Beast. No real hints at this dynamic yet, since the two haven't quite met. But that's episode 1. We've established our characters, setting, and are gearing up for the return of Discord. Of course, during the gala, which happens to be the title of our second episode. Episode 2 starts off with a previously on recap of the first episode, where we get this amazing line from Spike.
But you can't leave right now, the gala's tomorrow!
They had to know what they were doing. The gala is in full swing. Every pony's having a good time. Applejack even invited some orphans from the Canterlot orphanage that she volunteers at. A plot point which goes absolutely nowhere, but we do get some really funny reactions to this from the gala regulars.
Are those children?
Orphans, obviously. Their attire is absolutely atrocious. This has got to be the worst gala we've ever...
All of these just sound like Brittany Broski doing a bit and not a serious performance. Also, speaking of VCG Brony episode 1, the main 6 all meet up and we're reintroduced to the Cauchemar Crusaders. A little bit after, Spike tries to dance with Rarity, but she's occupied. Spike laments to AJ about this, and she nervously suggests that Spike and her dance. This is the author planting the seeds for Spike and AJ's relationship. That's right, Applejack and Spike, the baby dragon. We're gonna get into that later because, other than that, the character interactions so far haven't had any major deviations from the show's characterization. They all act like you'd expect the main 6 to act mostly. Even Twilight's nervousness isn't as bad as it gets in the show's later seasons. Feels very season 4. Discord, a character who up until now only appeared in 5 episodes, doesn't feel all that different from his earlier appearances. He shows up at the gala and messes stuff up for a bit. I really enjoy this bit where somebody says there's a hair in the punch, and then AJ looks over at it, and there's a hair, like an actual rabbit. I thought that was neat. That part doesn't happen in the fanfiction, just a montage of little things. It's a creative example of translating the story's original narration into audio. Fluttershy soon gets on stage and starts singing, with the help of the Cauchemar Crusaders as backup. Now this was another thing this audio drama kind of predicted for the show. An episode about Fluttershy singing and having stage fright would air like 4 months after this was uploaded. Anyways, she sings and Discord starts feeling things for her. He interrupts her performance to hit on Fluttershy before doing what Discord does around Equestria. The 3 princesses, Celestia, Luna, and Cadence, get kidnapped, with Discord threatening Cadence's unborn child. We need to remember that bit about the unborn child, that's gonna come back later. The main 6 manage to evacuate the castle before anybody gets hurt, but Discord is on the loose. That's where the episode's story really ends. What I need to talk about with this one is the music choice. So for this series, they'll use actual real-world songs. Fluttershy sings Somebody to Love by Queen, but it's obviously changed to Some Pony. I love that. We're gonna see this with the other musical numbers, but to a stronger degree. All the others are what could be classified as parodies, where they changed most of the lyrics. No specific genre or artist really is used. The songs they choose are from all over the place, and even in the background right here, we get some 2010s pop songs as the gala happens. You can barely make them out over the dialogue, but you've got some Lady Gaga and the cover of 15 by Taylor Swift. Okay. When you're 15 and your first kiss makes your head spin around. Well, while we're on the subject of audio, I should mention the voices of the 3 CMCs. Sweetie Belle, like Pinkie, sounds pretty young, but her performance is nice. Apple Bloom, pretty spot on. Scootaloo sounds more like Diamond Tiara, but they got the idea of her down well. The singing, not great. I'm not a vocal coach or even a singer, so I can't comment on it at all, but they're trying, okay? That's the theme. Episode 2 was our inciting incident, if you will. We're moving closer to the actual Fluttershy and Discord part of the story, starting with Episode 3, The Dilemma. Episode 3, The Dilemma, opens on Discord, causing chaos around Equestria. He mentions a pony with a propeller hat, who I think is supposed to be Button Mash. During a really drawn out scene, he tries to mess with Big Macintosh and Miss Cheerily while they're on a date, before he realizes he's lonely. After this, Discord goes to the main 6. We get a scene between him and Fluttershy, where she tries to use her death stare on him. Literally, this scene is taken word for word, actually, from Keep Calm and Flutter On. Then, he tries to strike up a deal with our heroes. He'll leave them alone and give the princesses back if he gets his own little piece of Equestria as his own territory. He also asks that one of the ponies be married off to him. Yeah, that's right, if they want Equestria to go back to normal, there needs to be a bride of Discord. This is where the title of the episode, The Dilemma, comes in. The ponies agree to all of Discord's terms except the bride thing. Later on, the main 6 stand around arguing who needs to go and marry him. They can't come to a decision since every one of them wants to sacrifice themselves, and the others object to it. The only one who doesn't give herself up is Fluttershy, who has a nightmare that night about Discord trying to woo her. She wakes up and confides in Applejack, and Fluttershy tells her that she's the one who needs to marry him. Apparently, she thinks that nobody's gonna miss her and she doesn't have any other purpose in life. The way it's framed here, marrying Discord is like Fluttershy giving up her own life. Not in the marriage way, but in the other way. At least how she talks about it. Given what happens in the rest of the story, that is not the way I want to be reading into this text. If we're looking at this from a Beauty and the Beast angle, this is the part where Belle decides to live with the Beast so that her father can go free. In the Disney version, this decision has no real immediate implications of romance. Not on the part of Belle nor the Beast. Sure, the Beast sees this as an opportunity to have a lady friend who can break his beastly curse, but Belle doesn't know that going into it, and only begins to consider being in a relationship with the Beast when he stops acting like a monster. If we're comparing these two, then obviously Bride of Discord comes off as a little creepy. When you think about how Discord forces Fluttershy into the relationship, and, spoilers, gets just that in the end, with no real caveat besides changing pleading face emoji, which you could argue isn't even that drastic, but this is all comparing it to the heavily sanitized PG Disney take on the story. Many cultures around the world have their own version of Beauty and the Beast, where in a lot of them, the beauty character has little to no agency and is just forced to marry the Beast. As I mentioned at the start of the video, the story takes inspiration from Bride of the Lindorm King, in that the king and queen just forced this beautiful young maiden to marry the prince, who happens to be a giant snake monster. To be fair, Fluttershy has more agency than the Lindorm King's bride. She chooses to marry Discord, and after she moves into the castle, their relationship is a lot like Disney's Beauty and the Beast. In fact, besides the forced marriage thing, the only other similarities between Bride of Discord and Bride of the Lindorm King are the name and the fact that Discord is kind of snake-ish. The original fairy tale has nothing about a kingdom being held captive, or whatever else goes on in the audio drama. Bride of the Lindorm King starts off with like onions or something. So we're 3 episodes in, and already we've seen a lot of art. Some of these artists will stick around for a lot of episodes, and others only show up in 1 or 2. If you watch the whole thing, you'll be able to recognize a few of the styles. People like Pandemonium Chaos and Endstone 53 are very accurate to the show with their line art and character designs. Fanshipping 713 also does really cute colored pencil illustrations. I can see this art style as something someone now would do as a neat 2010s webcore anime throwback thingy. 8-Bit Amy has some later on that are amazing and really pretty with all these pastel colors. There are a lot more to go, and the pieces here really do get better as the series goes on. That being said, let's move on to episode 4. This episode starts with Fluttershy and Applejack going to visit Zecora. I'm really glad they decided to include her in this story. Feels like they knew how to use all the characters in the best way possible, and stick true to the show. Just like in MLP, Zecora doesn't serve much of a purpose outside giving magic advice to our main characters, which is unfortunate for all my Zecora fans out there, but like I said, it's true to the show. The worst case scenario for Bride of Discord, I think, was it literally just being Beauty and the Beast, but with MLP characters in all the roles, like an AU or those AMV musical things with MLP characters singing the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack, or a Pooh's Adventures type deal where it's MLP characters just edited into the movie. They actually did manage to make a real story beyond that. It takes a lot from the Disney version, but I totally believe that most of these events would take place in the MLP universe. Besides the forced marriage and the Applejack Spike thing. I doubt that either of those would fly on the Hub network in early 2014. So AJ actually objects to what Zecora tells Fluttershy here, saying that she'll have a happy future with Discord, and the two leave her hut. So in the show, Zecora actually speaks in rhymes, and I gotta admit, they match the way she does it in the show, but it is a little off though. She talks in rhyme, sure, but in the show there's like a rhythm to the way she does it. It's hard to explain, but if you watch Bride of Discord and then go watch an episode of the show, you'll understand what I mean. Fun fact, I was originally gonna go on a whole rant, a whole analysis about like poetry and meter. I made a whole slideshow for it, but it turns out those files wouldn't load on my editing software. So tough luck, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Also means less stuff for me to edit on a Friday afternoon, so that's good with me. Well, sorry to say, the rest of this episode is just kind of boring. After she and AJ leave the forest, Fluttershy goes to Discord's cave to give herself up. All the main 6 say their tearful goodbyes, and the princesses are delivered back to them, intact. That's really all that happens, and it lasts 30 minutes for the whole thing. We see a lot more of Discord in this episode, and the cracks in this performance are starting to show. He sounds really raspy and at points squawks out his lines, nowhere near as smooth sounding as the real voice actor from the show. The thing ends with Fluttershy in Discord's wacky evil castle, wherein she faints, and Discord says she looks even more beautiful when she's unconscious. I know there's nothing remotely okay about what Discord has done so far, but come on, can we please not cross that line, please? If you'll look behind you, you can see we've already gone past a few. But anyways, next is episode 5, The Gift. Now these next few episodes are pretty easy to summarize because all I really need to say is that it's Beauty and the Beast. This would be the part where all the servants show Belle around the castle and the whole Be Our Guest number. The big difference with this here is that there's no Lumiere, Cogsworth, or sexy feather duster who can be nice to Fluttershy and take her mind off being the Beast's prisoner. In fact, it's Discord who's all nice to her here. He gives her food, a nice room, a magic microwave, a ton of flowers, gifts, anything she wants. After a bit of nice guy shenanigans from Discord, he talks to his reflection about how he's going to use Fluttershy's love for him to turn her against her friends and take over the kingdom. Now, this was actually a plot point from the original episode with these two, where Fluttershy promises not to use her god-given magic friendship power against Discord because they're friends, and he uses that to do whatever without getting rainbowed again. But from the other BOD episodes, I just thought that Discord's motivation to take Fluttershy was just that A, he was lonely, and B, thought she was hot. As far as I'm aware, this wasn't set up before and feels like something that got taken from the episode and put into the middle of the story to be Discord's equivalent to the curse and the magic rose from the Disney version. The Disney one had the beast let the rose die and curse him forever because he realized that Belle was more important to him. And I guess that's what they're doing here. Discord is going to realize that his relationship with Fluttershy is more important than ruling Equestria, so he's not going to turn her against her friends. But that doesn't really make sense as a parallel. This scene where Discord and his reflection have a little evil back and forth is really enjoyable. For all the flaws I talk about here, I have to admit that it's well written enough for me to enjoy it at a lot of points. DF, the author, is obviously like a writer, and some of the little moments here are way more natural than anything I've seen from other MLP fanfics. They also explore things like character motivation, and have setups and payoffs that make sense. Seems like a low bar, I know. But the only other MLP fanfictions I've ever really given any thought to are those awful horror stories where like Pinkie Pie goes crazy and kills people, so you gotta understand, this is a complete palate cleanser. I think it's kinda sad that, as of right now, my top 2 MLP fanfics I've read are Bride of Discord and then Rainbow Factory. So Fluttershy and Discord do some more Beauty and the Beast stuff. He won't marry her until she says she loves him, and he starts asking her every night. A neat little thing that isn't borrowed from Disney or the Lindorm King fairy tale, might be from Once Upon a Time. One night, Princess Luna visits Fluttershy in her dream to check up on her, and Fluttershy says that Discord's been treating her pretty well. After she wakes up to Discord creepily watching her sleep, we get a few scenes where he gives her a bunch of gifts, which all seem to do nothing for Fluttershy. He goes to Zecora, who still ain't got rhythm, and she tells Discord that he needs to give Fluttershy something actually meaningful. The art for this section of the audio drama is so good. You could tell anyone that this was a screenshot from the show, and they'd probably believe you. What follows is supposed to be the part where the Beast gives Belle the library, but instead of a library, it's a garden with all her animals. Fluttershy responds surprisingly well to this. She likes it so much that she jumps and hugs Discord and says, "This is the best thing any pony has ever done for me." In this episode, Fluttershy has a very quick turnaround. She did say it was her duty to do it, and it's not like she's perfectly content with being here. She's crying and doesn't want to come out of her room at parts. But, you know, we'll see how their relationship develops in episode 6, The Spark. So, we're this far in, and I think I need to mention the intro. Every episode starts off with this Windows Movie Maker, and that's clearly not a jab at it. This is obviously the Windows Movie Maker default title, montage of clips from the show. This one here I think is actually a shot from the pilot where Fluttershy befriends a manticore, and they use it for her in Discord because the lion's paw. Neat. The episode starts with Discord talking to his evil reflection, who in our Beauty and the Beast comparison is the CGI Tim Curry organ from the Christmas special. His reflection tells him to ignore his feelings for Fluttershy, as does his shoulder devil, who also appears. His shoulder angel shows up and all 4 of them get into an argument. I should just mention this because it was in my notes. The shoulder devil sounds like King from the Owl House, and the shoulder angel sounds like Salad Fingers. Now this would be the something there part of the story, with Belle and the Beast out in the snow and beginning to like each other. That's right, beginning to like each other, and not going from 0 to 100 like these two. Within a few minutes, Fluttershy is already blushing and getting into tickle fights with this guy. And you know what, honestly, full disclosure, I'm not going to pretend to understand the subtle, intricate character development that comes in this part of the Disney movie. At the end of the day, they are pretty similar scenes, but in the Disney one, the Beast is now just realizing that Belle might have feelings for him because of how they get along. Them getting along being a result of the Beast changing and acting like a decent person. As I said before, the big difference is that Discord treats Fluttershy liking him as a given, and the only change that we've seen from him is recognizing the things she likes. It seems to me like it's Fluttershy who's doing all the changing here, because she's learning to adapt to her situation with the help of Discord spoiling her. I will accept the argument that Discord giving her things she likes like the garden or her favorite cake later on, is meant to show him getting to know Fluttershy on a more personal level. I feel like that's what the author was trying for here. It's completely valid. After Discord wins the tickle fight, proclaiming, quote, "I am the tickle torturer here," unquote, we go back to Ponyville. Applejack and Spike are taking a walk and talking about Spike's crush on Rarity. We get some very interesting info from him here, like how he's 7 years younger than Rarity and how dragons apparently age different from ponies. So it's okay if a baby dragon and a full-grown pony are in a relationship. Although Applejack had to ask if it's weird or not that he wants to be with a pony who's way older than him, so either AJ knows that her and Spike together would be taboo, or she just doesn't know much about dragons, and unfortunately, I'm gonna lean towards the first option because it's just creepy. I don't care if Spike's almost a teenager, Spike's a kid, and Applejack is a full-grown pony. Spike leaves and Applejack sings a song, yes, about how much she yearns for him. It's not even a good song, it's a parody of On My Own from Les Mis. But the lyrics are all over the place and it feels like she's just rambling on. This could have been a monologue by Applejack or a soliloquy or maybe a different tune. AJ goes to Zecora, who tells her to wait until Spike's older to make a move. Really, at this point, I think Applejack just needs to get help, because this is not okay. We then go back to Discord and Fluttershy. Flutters has a nightmare about Discord, and relays this to him. He gets mad for some reason, before she assures him that the version of him in her dreams isn't the real Discord, because the real Discord is nice. In order to help Fluttershy go to sleep, he teleports both of them to a cloud, where he makes formations in the stars. Discord asks if she loves him again, she says no, but the two share a romantic back and forth about Fluttershy being the only pony who's ever loved him and how beautiful she is, and how Discord doesn't even understand why she likes him. That's a little bit of a red flag, but we're gonna ignore that, because it's time to move on to episode 7, The Mirror. Episode 7 starts off with our main couple waking up and then doing some fun couple stuff like ice skating and bowling. We check up on Spike and Applejack and their whole love triangle with Rarity. It's not really a triangle though, since they all don't want each other and this other pony, Fancy Pants, is involved, but this first half of the episode isn't really that important because the main thing we're supposed to get from it is how Fluttershy and her friends miss each other. To let her see her friends again, Discord gives Fluttershy a mirror that she can use to see anything in the world. I keep comparing this to the Disney Beauty and the Beast, and I feel like it's unfair to do so sometimes, because this is clearly its own thing. But there's so many parts of the story, like this mirror thing, that are straight up borrowed from Disney. In that one, the mirror lets Belle see what's going on with her dad, and helps move the story along in a lot of ways. In BOD, the mirror only leads us into what might be the worst part of this whole thing. Fluttershy looks in on Rainbow Dash going out on a date with Soren, her fellow Wonderbolt from the show. Both he and Rainbow Dash's voices are really hard to listen to here, and this scene with them barely serves any purpose to the story and goes on for so long. It just switches from Fluttershy's perspective out of nowhere, pausing the story for no other reason than for shipping. In the grand scheme of this whole story, Soren and Rainbow Dash are a relatively wholesome couple, so I get it, but I think if you're gonna lead up to the actual point of the mirror in the story, which is showing Fluttershy that her friends miss her, you wouldn't want to have Rainbow Dash and Soren take up as much time as it does here. After a while, we get to the real point of the scene, which is the main six all singing a song about how much they miss Fluttershy. This is set to the tune of What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me, a song from the show. And yes, they even have that shot. You know the one, with all the main six here and one of them looking concerned with their head tilted to the side. There were so many different edits of this back in the day, but now it's probably burned into the brains of any veteran MLP fan. The lyrics to it are good, and I like that they match each pony to their verse, the opposite way they did it in the show. You see, in the show, all the ponies were singing this song because their cutie marks were switched and they had to do each other's jobs. So you had Fluttershy with Pinkie Pie's job, Pinkie Pie with Applejack's, AJ with Rarity's, etc. In this, you have each pony singing the verse that the pony who was stuck in their job would sing. So instead of Fluttershy singing about having to do what Pinkie Pie does and failing at it, you've got Pinkie Pie singing about what Pinkie Pie does and failing because she misses Fluttershy. If that was confusing, then sorry. Sigh, only real bronies will get it. So once we get a recap to where all the characters in the story are so far, with the main six's song, we go back to Fluttershy and Discord. Discord overcomes his evil side by smashing his reflection. Now the only thing he wants is Fluttershy, and that whole thing about using her against her friends, maybe might have went nowhere. The two are officially locked in for romance as the episode ends, and we move on to episode 8, The Date. This episode is a pretty special one, because in this, we get both Discord and Fluttershy's tragic backstory. After some water skiing and a few stock Hanna-Barbera sound effects, Discord begins to tell his bride-to-be about how he, the Master of Chaos, ended up in Equestria. It turns out there was once an entire land of his species who were wiped out by a blizzard. This is actually a reference to the show. In MLP lore, before all the Pegasus, unicorns, and Earth ponies lived together, there was a big snowstorm made by these guys that forced them out of their respective lands. Cool way to mix the world of the show into the story. Little Discord has to sit out the blizzard for centuries, all while surviving on his two comfort foods, chocolate milk and cotton candy. These were actually what his parents would conjure up for him whenever he would get sad. Yeah, in this fanfic they really go hard on the chocolate milk rain and cotton candy clouds. Those were a staple of Discord's first appearance, but never really stuck around. His whole gimmick in the show is being able to do whatever with his magic, so of course they'd want to branch out beyond those two things. But Bride of Discord treats those two as iconic though, like they're his main thing, even going so far as to add part of his backstory on why he summons those two specific sweets all the time. That's like when a character in a movie has a specific minor trait, and then they make a prequel where that trait is explained as like an essential part of their backstory, like they had to let people know why that's a part of their character. In that way, this backstory for Discord doesn't feel creative at all, nor are any of the Discord-ish things they have to do with his powers. There's just a land full of other Discords that have the exact same powers, and it looks exactly like how Equestria does in the show when Discord takes everything over. I always had the impression that Discord was one of a kind, that he was some sort of spirit or embodiment of chaos itself, a god or something. If being quote-unquote chaotic is a part of his species and his culture, some would say, then either the ponies are really speciesist, or he just happened to get the title of Lord of Chaos for no real reason. Or maybe he's making up this whole story just for Fluttershy to feel bad for him, I don't know. So after the blizzard, he makes his way to Equestria, where all the ponies think he's weird, except for a young Princess Celestia. Discord tries to use magic for good, but his definition of good is making random wacky things happen. Celestia gets mad, he gets mad back, and he becomes the evil Discord that we know now in the show. This part of his backstory doesn't really make it clear whether he's doing chaotic things because he genuinely doesn't understand why he shouldn't, or if he knows they're wrong, but just messes things up because he thinks it's funny. If it's the first, I love the idea of Discord being misunderstood, or in this case, misunderstanding the ponies. Now here's what I think they are trying to do with this backstory here. Discord is part of a race that can use magic to do whatever, but since his parents were lost at a young age, he didn't fully get to develop his powers, because there was nobody around to teach him. He winds up in Equestria, where the ponies want him to use his magic for good, but since he never learned to channel it properly, he messes things up every time. Since he messes things up every time, he becomes an outcast and the ponies want him gone. And since the ponies want him gone, he vows revenge and uses his magic the only way he knows how, all weird and wacky and stuff, and does this to mess everything up in Equestria. Maybe I'm not grasping it correctly because they aren't spoon-feeding his motivation to us, but in this they sure like to do that for all the other character stuff we have. Points like Fluttershy feeling like she needs to go with Discord and Applejack yearning for Spike are repeated to us multiple times at different points in the story, even though we should already know them by that point. Feels like there's gonna be a quiz at the end of this we need to be studying for. In that case, why can't we get a clear yes or no answer on if Discord is the victim in his situation, or if he was just always an ass? Well, after his backstory, we get Fluttershy's, and it's a lot less ambiguous. This takes us back to Fluttershy's days in the flying Pegasus city of Cloudsdale. These two bullies do that thing where they ask her out as a joke, and then show up to the malt shop and make fun of her. As a result, she doesn't like when people call her pretty because it reminds her of that fateful day. Not as bad as having your entire race and homeland wiped out by a natural disaster, but I'd imagine that would be pretty traumatic. The real thing the two bond over is them not having parents. Fluttershy does have parents in the show, but they showed up in a later season, so of course there was no way of knowing if she had any. But something to note about this little part, there's a piece of art where they have these two Pegasi who were actually bullies in the show, but there are these two OC ponies up front. Their color schemes are so alike but also so different from everything else that I thought there was a weird lighting effect on these two and these two only. Weird. So Fluttershy is sick of being treated like a prisoner, and wants to leave Discord's castle for a little bit. Discord obliges and suggests that the two should go on a date to the Everfree Forest. Here we get our tale as old as time part of the story. They even play the song. And Fluttershy and Discord are wearing the outfits from the scene in the Disney Beauty and the Beast. Just want to give this a mention. Dress design for the art in this is actually a whole aspect of the production in and of itself, with whole credits being devoted to the people who designed the characters' looks. Since all the art is done by different people, you don't want to have them wearing different things in a scene when they switch over to a different artist. That's where dress designers come in and make sure the characters' outfits are consistent. Like here, these ponified versions of Belle's dress and the Beast's suit were done by Endstone53. Princess Luna shows up and is amazed that Discord was able to change from a monster into a nice guy. She even says how if she can change, Discord can. Another nod to the show and Luna being a reformed villain. Alright, pretty nice, pretty nice. Then Discord sings a song that I don't recognize and his voice actor can't really sing, and the lyrics get really creepy at the end, and he talks about making Fluttershy his and turning her to the dark side. If the author thinks Discord is cool and they want to have him sing a song about chaos just because, I'm not gonna stop them, genuinely. After the song, the two kiss and Discord goes back to his room and realizes that he's really in love with her and that the two are official. He even says that he doesn't need his shoulder devil anymore. But if you've been paying attention during the last few episodes, you'll notice that this whole bit at the end is very redundant. In both the previous episodes, we've had conclusions where the two of them end up becoming an item. First, the thing on the clouds in episode 6, then Discord destroying his evil reflection because of Fluttershy in episode 7, and even before then, I just want to add, he thinks she's pretty. He's had the hots for her since episode 2. Why is he now just saying he's fallen in love with her, like it's the first time he's ever given a relationship with her any real thought? What was he in with her before, huh? This is something that I think might have been lifted from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. At this point during the movie, the Beast is now realizing that he and Belle are official after a long build-up. Compared to that, the build-up to Discord and Fluttershy's relationship is kinda short, and at this point they're largely happy with each other. Very out of place to have him say this when that's the case. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Flutters and Discord's relationship, because somebody's gonna have an episode 9, The Relapse. In this episode, it's Fluttershy's birthday. Her one wish is for Discord to let her see her friends. In response to this, Discord tells her that they've probably forgotten about her and forbids it. Separating your partner from their friends is of course a sign of a very healthy relationship. After Flutters tells them that they need to have them there for their wedding, Discord lets them come over. The main 6 are teleported over to Discord's castle, and they have a gay old time. A few of the ponies even think that Discord is nicer than he was before. The good vibes are immediately ruined, however, when Fluttershy reveals that the only reason they were allowed over is to be part of her wedding. The main 6 react accordingly, with shock, but Fluttershy argues that they knew this was coming, and I do have to agree, all the other ponies act like Fluttershy marrying Discord wasn't even gonna happen. Like the two didn't make a deal, what did they expect? And also, Flutters pulls the "you don't understand him like I do" thing. Again, a sign of a very healthy relationship. But you know what, I guess she's kinda right, because the other ponies don't know his sad backstory, but when she tells them about the wedding thing, her friends aren't convinced. The main 6 point out all the awful stuff he's done, like capturing the princesses, taking over Equestria, etc., and then Fluttershy goes from defending Discord to telling her friends that it doesn't matter if she loves him or not, because she made a deal to get married with him. After some more pressure from the main 6, she blurts out that she doesn't love him and storms out of the room in tears. AJ scolds the other ponies and says they know nothing about love and have no right to judge them. Because obviously, as somebody who has feelings for a child, she knows what real love is. Discord finds Flutters in a room, and what follows is this really uncomfortable scene where he goes off on her about lying to him and then even gaslights her, yes, really, about how he wasn't actually gonna kill that unborn child earlier. I told you that was gonna come back. Now this part is supposed to be the classic third act misunderstanding between our two leads, but with the power dynamic of the two, it feels so wrong. Usually when a misunderstanding happens like this, especially in some kind of love story, they'd go their separate ways, but here they can't right now, because Fluttershy isn't allowed to leave. Discord still forces her into the wedding, he even hypnotizes her into loving him. So remember that line? I think we're pretty close to crossing it. The main 6 seem to think so too, because they all see what Discord is doing and try to put a stop to it. He does some Discord stuff to them, including freezing Rainbow Dash in the corner and making her wear a dunce cap, enforcing Applejack inside a box of Applejacks. Tweety Belle and Scootaloo get turned into Rock'em Sock'em robots, which is interesting. They had a game of Twister earlier, and now this. I really appreciate all the little nods to Hasbro properties that the author put in this series. This whole fight between Discord and the main six isn't communicated as well through the audio as it should be. If you want to understand what's going on here, you'd have to be looking at the art. If you're listening to this in the background or something, the Applejacks joke would be completely lost on you, and the Rainbow Dash dunce thing would make no sense. All we get is a sound effect and Pinkie Pie saying,
Rainbow's the dunce!
I don't really listen to a lot of narrative fiction podcasts anymore, but when I did, they'd always do a pretty good job of letting the audience know what was happening without needing visuals, because that's what an audio-based medium does. There are things that Bride of Discord does that help translate the story's narration into an audio format, but then there are other times where you have things that are only really communicated through the art. It's kind of a shame, because I could see something like this being really nice to listen to in the background while doing something. But back to the episode. Fluttershy snaps out of her hypnosis and rightfully calls Discord out for all this. In response to this, he just snaps. He grabs Fluttershy and ties her up and starts singing a parody of Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And you know what? Who doesn't love Hellfire? It's a great villain song and really imposing, especially in this situation, gives it the gravity the scene here needs. I was gonna go on a whole rant about how they use both Heaven's Light and Hellfire from Hunchback, but they ignore the contrast that the two have. This was because I actually thought the song that Applejack sings in episode 6 was a parody of it. It's actually the thing from Les Mis. They do play a piano version of Heaven's Light though, when Discord is admiring Fluttershy from the balcony in the beginning, which is somewhat thematically consistent with Hunchback, because that contrasts with the use of Hellfire here, when he's forcing her to marry him just because. The only real difference is that in Hunchback, the two songs are sung by different characters who both have feelings for the romantic lead. In this case, it's the same character singing about the same romantic lead. All this talk of MLP combined with Hunchback reminds me of another thing I want to do a video on. So Discord sings his song, then Rainbow Dash goes to attack him. Discord hits her back, but accidentally hits Fluttershy too? Or maybe he hits them both on purpose? Both the audio and the art don't tell us what really happened here. Discord is appalled at what he's done and lets Fluttershy and the other ponies go. Fluttershy tells Discord that he's really as evil as everyone says he is, and is glad to be set free, but still doubts her decision after leaving. We end this penultimate episode with our two romantic leads separated, and both of them unsure what will become of their relationship. I, for one, am glad that Fluttershy left. With all the weird red flags Discord's been showing so far, I think it's about time she leaves. When Belle left the castle in Beauty and the Beast, and the Beast allowed it, that was to see her father. The Beast let her do this because he loved her, and Belle's happiness was more important than him being stuck as a beast forever. Compare that to here, where Discord lets her friends come over just because he thinks it'll be good for his wedding plans. Every couple has problems, I get it, but when it gets this bad, I think they just need to start seeing other people, TBH. Anyways, let's conclude this epic saga with episode 10, The Confession. At the start of episode 10, all is well in Equestria. The main six are reunited, and the princesses are back in one piece. Fluttershy, though, can't keep her mind off Discord, and leaves to sing a song on the castle balcony about him. The other ponies begin to wonder why Discord let them all go, and Applejack goes off again about how they just don't get it. This is the part where all the other characters basically tell Fluttershy to go to him, TM. In a dream, Luna tells her that she needs to follow her heart, and Applejack says that she's really in love with him because she, quote, has all the symptoms. After a bit more convincing, Fluttershy realizes that he does love her because he set her free. I know what they're going for here. After the big misunderstanding, romantic lead realizes that at the end of the day, her partner really does care for her and is just #tortured. But again, in this story, it's that power dynamic that makes it feel off. They also do a lot more telling than showing with their justification for this. She says that Discord respected her space. When did he do that? Whenever she saw him, she couldn't help but smile. Did I miss that? Like I said, it feels like they want to follow that beat you see in a lot of love stories, where the main character remembers all the happy times they had and how fulfilled they were with their partner, but usually there's something to show that, either how happy they were with them, or how lonely they are now. Fluttershy does have memories about Discord, but we only get one, and it's from when she first got taken by him and he's giving her dinner, and talking about peas and all that. Now, this scene is actually way more drawn out in the fanfiction, so I feel like that explores it more, and might even could be better at explaining why she wants to go back. As it stands in the audio drama, it doesn't make a lot of sense. From what we've seen of Fluttershy's life in the castle, it seems that she was just there. She enjoyed things like the food and seeing her animal friends, but to me that felt like her making the best out of the situation. Anyways, she makes her decision, and the main six all set out to the Everfree Forest to reunite Fluttershy with Discord. But a pack of Timberwolves attacks. Something to note about these guys, the sound effects that they use for their barking is weirdly bit crushed. They sound like enemies from the original Golden Axe. After becoming surrounded, Fluttershy screams for help. This is heard by none other than Discord all the way in his castle. He comes to Fluttershy's rescue and fends off the Timberwolves, and even has some lip-synced animation. Okay, nice. Say whatever you want about the rest of this thing, but the art, especially in these later episodes, is really nice. So in this episode, Discord has a different voice actor. According to TV tropes, his original VA wanted to leave as far back as episode 5 due to him not liking the relationship between Fluttershy and Discord. Now, I couldn't find any evidence of this, so take that with a huge grain of salt. Anyways, I actually do like Discord's new voice actor more here. He sounds more like the actual thing and is less croaky. The worst I can say is that he sounds kind of, according to my notes, emo, but that's not a problem. They go to his castle and the two have a heart-to-heart. Fluttershy says sorry for all the awful things she said. Compared to everything Discord did, I don't think Fluttershy getting mad at him one time is worth the apology that she gives. She literally says, "I'm the monster, not you." Like, come on, you had a right to say that after he hypnotized you into loving him and did all this to your friends. After that, Discord confesses his plan to turn Fluttershy against her friends. That plot point got dropped after like one episode, so it's not that big a deal. The only apology that really matters from him is the way he treated her. He says that it was because he loved her and didn't want to lose her, and that he let her go because he realized that her happiness was more important. And there we are. That's a good Beauty and the Beast plot point. They got that down. They kiss, make up, and the rest, as they say, is history. They also do a callback to the thing where Discord would ask Fluttershy if she loves him every night, but it's Fluttershy who does it. I like me a good callback. That was fun. Flash forward to 1 year later, and it's the wedding day. There's a thing where Discord gets cold feet and they have to convince him to go through with the wedding. It's a cute idea that he's the one who's reluctant now. Doesn't add too much to the story, and it feels like it drags on for a while. If they wanted to keep it more concise, just have him get nervous before the ceremony and have that be it. This whole epilogue doesn't really contribute anything to the main story, and feels to me like it's just there as a fun fanfiction thing, but you know what, I respect that. If you like the characters and the relationships you've made with them, I don't blame you if you just want to have some fun little moments like this. We get some more actual animation with Fluttershy walking down the aisle. Sweet. They do the wedding thing and then off to the reception. All the characters' arcs get wrapped up here. Fluttershy and Discord are happy together, Rainbow Dash and Soren are hanging out, and Spike has a little talk with Rarity. He says that he's okay with her being with somebody, and that the two of them just aren't meant to be. Yeah, nice, Spike. Now it's okay for the woman to be in a relationship with somebody besides you because you said you're okay with it. Alright, sorry, Spike. Don't take that last thing too seriously. This thing is almost over, and I can see in my notes, I was tired when I got to this part. Applejack puts a hoof on Spike's shoulder and says that she'll always be there for him, hinting at things to come. Sakura shows up, and you know what? They wrapped up her arc too. Her dialogue is actually in rhythm. The thing wraps up the same way it began, with a narration from Twilight over a stained glass illustration. Basic happily ever after stuff. And they even throw in a thing about Applejack and Spike, because they can't let you forget about that. In the end, it seems that the real bride of Discord was the friends that we made along the way. Now, Bride of Discord has some flaws that aren't really flaws. People complain about the voice acting, art, and audio quality, but on my first run-through of the series, I was sort of able to ignore those. Those parts of it weren't the best, but this thing started nearly 10 years ago and had a lot of effort poured into it by a number of people. Parts of it were very charming, the first 2 episodes being a major highlight for me. Amateur productions can be really good sometimes, and even if they're below people's usual standards, you can see a lot of creativity shine through. I think this does that in a lot of ways. Talking about the writing now, the goal here was to make a Beauty and the Beast story in the MLP universe, and I think they accomplished that in a way that mostly stays true to the show. That being said, what really makes it less than enjoyable, at times, is the relationship between our Beauty and Beast. The way it's portrayed feels less than healthy, to say the least. Discord forces Fluttershy into a relationship and holds her captive. He love bombs her until she goes along with the marriage thing, and even after they're together, still controls her, doesn't want her to see her friends, and won't let her leave the castle. And I know he's supposed to be controlling because that's a part of the story, but like I said way back during episode 3, he has this whole marriage plan because he's lonely and thinks she's hot, and gets just that by the end. What real sacrifice or change do we see from him to justify that? There was his evil plot, but that never factored into anything during the story. It got brought up like twice, with the second time being to make sure people forgot about it. Fluttershy is still with him despite this because, oh, he gives me things, so he must love me. He's tortured and lonely. He doesn't treat me like a prisoner when he feels bad about it. Discord goes all crazy and starts doing awful stuff to her friends, and then Fluttershy ends up apologizing because she wasn't nice during it. That's uncomfortable to think about because things like that actually do happen in those kind of relationships. Now, if you want a better Fluttercord story, I'd honestly recommend the original Keep Calm and Flutter On episode, because in that, there's these things called consent, and boundaries, and character development. If you want to go and argue that I'm exaggerating all this about the relationship, that's fine. But what I don't think you can argue for is the relationship between Spike and Applejack. Spike is a baby dragon. Applejack having a crush on Spike is so weird because if you know how they're written to be in the show, it's a woman in her 20s or 30s having a crush on what's basically a 10-year-old boy. They know it's weird because they talk about it. AJ asks Spike if he thinks an older pony would like him, and Sakura says to wait until he's older to show her true feelings. But wait, didn't they say ponies age differently than dragons? That's something they brought up, but still, Spike is a little boy. He acts like one, has the voice of one, etc. Throughout the entire show, seasons 1 to 9, he's always been portrayed as a kid, and treated like that by the other characters. He's a little brother figure to Twilight and the other ponies. The only relationship he has with an older pony is Rarity, and in the show, that's always portrayed as a one-sided crush, because that's what kids do. A lot of you should know because at one point, you were kids. From what I've seen online about Bride of Discord, a lot of people talk about how this was their childhood, and how they watched this when they were younger. I mean, there are more messed up things that the youths could have been watching on the internet back then, especially MLP related things, but at least with something like Smile HD, a kid would understand what's wrong about that. You shouldn't punch somebody so hard that their guts come out. Simple enough. Iffy things in this, like Discord's treatment of Fluttershy and Applejack's relationship with a very young character, somebody with a lack of critical thinking skills wouldn't really pick up on why they're bad. And this isn't me saying Bride of Discord has actually somehow brainwashed anybody into thinking that not okay things are okay. I mention all this because I think sometimes we look at things from our childhoods as innocent and good fun, when really we should take a second look and see things that weren't. This story was not written in order to romanticize any real-life awful behaviors and push them onto an unsuspecting audience. Let's use our brains here. Disney Fanatic 2364 was not hunched over a keyboard while writing this, laughing to themselves and saying,
"Wahahaha, now they'll all want to be in toxic relationships."
From what I've heard about the author, the story was written at a time where they were still figuring things out about themselves. There were certain things that they didn't understand, they were young, and based their relationships in it off what they observed around them. This story was also written nearly 10 years ago. I said in the beginning that this video wasn't made to cancel or expose anybody, and I still stick by that. Don't harass anybody involved with BOD or even anybody who says they like it. I just wanted to look back at a classic thing that a lot of us remember, not make an expose of anybody. In conclusion, Bride of Discord is an interesting piece of MLP fandom history. Audio is certainly a medium I wouldn't expect MLP fans to use, and for what it was, some parts of it were a lot of fun. I liked how cheesy it was and how they really tried to tell a sweet story. Maybe I just have an emotional attachment to Disney and MLP. I don't know. One thing I can really commend is the variety of art styles they had portraying everything. Obviously, the writing and the voice acting aren't perfect. It tries to stay true to the show, but some things get lost in translation, for it is brought down by some questionable things that haven't aged well, like Discord and Fluttershy Eyes, questionable relationship, and the whole thing with Spike and Applejack. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like and drop a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and click that little notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new videos or live. Make sure to follow me on my social media for art, updates, and other stuff. And a shout out to my Yak 2 supporters from Patreon. Olive, SR Nano, Allison Madden, Alex Kincaid, Johnny Punchfist, A Kawaii Dragon, Keaton Cryer, Cascadiark, Bad Bessie, Damian, Booth Taste, Marshmallow, Zeflo, and Goose Nerd. I can't think of a better outro, so until next time, goodbye.
Shooby-doo, shoop, shoopy-doo.